I'm still in disbelief literally every day, the amount of wins that are posted in there.
You're still what?
Just in disbelief every day. It's like
Yeah,
nonstop flow of wins. Let me try and share my
I can
screen
go ahead
here.
and click on it too. Yeah, I think the one that's like the one that stands out is by Official. Is that his name?
Think, yeah.
Scroll up and find it. Wild. It was a $9,000 payout. And we had up here,
There we go. Yeah.
yeah, $40,000 payout. Uh,
Crazy.
yeah, really awesome job, Official. And what's also cool is like seeing his days trading, right? His 39, 42. So like this is multiple payouts, not just like a 2 week cycle. Um, so this is multiple payouts over, you know, almost 60 days. I mean, if he gets to what is it? Like really like probably 15 more days now, and he'll be able to withdraw whatever he wants. And so it's going to be really interesting seeing what he does. And then Patience also had like a 9K payout right here recently. Um, a lot of people um, have had some other crazy payouts, crazy days too. Recently, somebody else DM'd me like a payout that was uh, in like to $12,000 territory. So
Wild.
pretty awesome seeing people, following the system and just getting crazy results right now. Um, so I think the first thing, a lot of people have been liking the new QGrid. Um, and like I've been messing around with it a little bit. I've been playing around with it with some different trading ideas. This is on a one Rinko, which is not what I would suggest for NQ, but on ES, I've really liked it. I'm still messing around with kind of like the settings and stuff, but on ES, like I mean, today, starting at like 9:30, it's like you're getting these bullish signals, like almost perfect entries. I mean, on ES, it's so smooth and it works so well on ES.
I was
Um,
gonna say with that less chop, it seems to really catch some good moves.
yeah, I mean, this is 1 second too. This is just doing 1 point. But yeah, it catches some good moves. And the other thing that I've been kind of interested in is a lot of people have been trading it and have been using the 4 box Rinko. Um, but something that that I'm trying to go through and backtest, and Anthony might already be ahead of me on this probably, is that once you get a QGrid signal, right, just taking the first dot and ignoring all the other ones, right, and then having like really like a 10 to 20 point, maybe 15 point stop, right, and you're targeting say 50 points, really good risk to reward on the first dot. Um, and it works out pretty well from what I've tested and like yesterday it worked out pretty well. Again, I would only trade it kind of like during the during the morning session. I wouldn't try to be trading the afternoon chop, or if we have news, right, and it's chopping around, I would try to avoid the chop. But yesterday, you know 9:30, 9:32, uh right, same thing. If you took the first dot, right, had a 15 point stop and you're targeting about 50 points, right, like that's a really nice risk to reward ratio, only trading the first dot, so not taking every signal. And the reason why the first dot is just because the first dot typically is the one that's going to see the most moves, right, like you're not going to get a 50 point move, you know up near, when we're coming after we've had like this is a perfect example. Is first dot, you get a nice beautiful rip, but then up here, this is a over 100 point move. Like you're not going to taking these dots is kind of silly, pointless, kind of. So you just got to know. And this is also like we hit a pivot point, right? Like there's going to be a pullback. So these two dots are dots that I wouldn't take. And I've posted about this too in the Discord channel. And yeah, so that's it's really fantastic. I really love the QGrid. I'm trying to use it on oil and trying to, I'm testing it on everything. I mean, you guys kind of just see a little bit of what I'm testing with that one. I have things testing here. I have things testing here. I have like so many, things that I'm testing, testing oil here with QSumo. So I'm constantly testing to see, what's giving the best results and stuff. But right now, with QGrid, you can technically kind of automate it right now. I wouldn't do it just yet because I know Anthony's working on something, but you can create alerts with, with and just have it fire off like a buy signal with the QGrid bull ad, right? And you can also do that with the QGrid bull the bear signal as well. So technically you can automate and you put your message in here, and you would have to do it, set it up as an open-ended alert, but that works as of now. I know Anthony's cooking up something really special with QGrid, and you want to touch on that, Anthony?
Yeah, let me I'll share my screen. Actually, y'all can see it.
Guys, if you have questions, leave them in the chat. You might have to pop open. It might be on like the top right of the trading floor, but just drop your questions in the chat as we go. And we'll work to answer every single one of them. The first
so
one I
here's
think
this.
Travis sort of got at it was how to avoid choppiness with QGrid. I think Travis was just about to get on that, but
I'll come back to it right after Anthony
Yeah.
shows.
Okay, so here, if you can see, the heck's going on here? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can.
yeah, we
Okay.
got you.
All right. So let me show you here what I've got on the QGrid if y'all want to look at my screen there. This is the strategy version, and I'm still working on a couple of things. So it's got, your basic always in strategy. You can follow it right here with this. And then we've got, you can use the ads, and you can set how many ads you want it to take with the pyramiding. So right there, see it adds in, and that just adds in on the dots that are already in there. And if you only wanted to take it, like just take the first ad, you can drop the pyramiding down here. Oops, actually it's 2 orders. And then it'll just take the first ad, and you can come in here and do something like add quantity, put like quantity 5 or whatever. And so it'll start off at a 1, right? So here, when it would short -7, actually this is a better example. So the short -7 is actually only a short -1 because you were you're +7 before, you're +6 before. So my QGrid long +2, which actually gives you only 1 long, you pull back and then it adds 5 into it. So you can do stuff like that. All sorts of things. And then I've got a scalper version. Okay, so here's the scalper version, which I'm working with. It's not done yet. I'm still working with it. And it'll take scalps prior to, usually a little bit prior to the dots opening. I want to get this a little bit more accurate, but it is working at the moment. So in back testing, or actually, excuse me, in forward testing, it's looked pretty good. Actually, hold on. I think this is 2 box. The 4 box works a little bit better, I found. Yeah, here we go. This looks quite a bit better. So you can set a few of the options with the scalps. They work pretty good, and they're not like They're not really fast trades. You can see they have quite a few boxes between them. That's because I try to let it run a little bit. So I don't know if scalp's the right word or not. But you see it opens over here and it runs for quite a ways. Open. This one actually closes pretty fast. That one closes a bit faster. So I've still got to work with it and see what we got and then test it and see if it's even profitable. But anyway, that's kind of some of the stuff that I'm working on with the QGrid. So it is coming. I might just put it out with the always in version and being able to take the ads that are already built in there, and then I'll update it later with the scalping version. But that's what I'm working on right now with it.
Nice. Yeah, dude, I'm excited for that. I mean, I've passed so many evals just scalping the QGrid, um, adding in, definitely over leveraging. Like, right, it's not something that I would suggest doing with the PA, but have pretty high accuracy. Even when you get caught in chop, right? Like for example, a couple days ago. Like even if you get caught in chop like right in the morning, like let's say Monday, um, right? You got caught in some of this chop, right? It wasn't really winning, wasn't really losing. But if you're just doing like one contract per ad, right? And the way that I would have been doing it is I don't take a sell on the QGrid bear signal, right? I've only taken contracts on the ads. So the first one, it plays out really well. But it's like even if you get caught in chop, and you're just doing one contract, it's almost not bad enough where it blows a 50K account if you're trading just one contract per each one. And then as soon as I get the account, a 50K account over $3,000, it's passed. And I've had a just really good success rate. I would say very high success rate of passing evaluations with this fairly quickly. And so that's been really nice to have. I mean, realistically, if you're a new trader and you've never got a payout, I don't suggest being aggressive with your evals. I suggest that you take your time, because then you're just going to blow $100 on a PA account, and you're just going to lose that money because you're not actually figuring out how to trade. But if you've already have payouts, right, and you're trying to pass evaluations fast, I think QGrid's actually fantastic for that, specifically. And trying to think of, there was something else I wanted to go over. Oh yeah, people were asking how to stay out of chop. Let me do this. I will show you. So if we open up Discord channel, and we go down to the pro, where is it? We go down to the pro
I
chart.
think it's way down there.
There we go. Pro chart layouts. I added a new one called the QGrid Rinko 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute. And this is one that I like. I'm not sure why it opened up like that. Let me just open it up on here. Call it the shared QGrid. So this is it. And basically you have the Rinko set up here, right, with the QGrid. And we also have the 1 minute with VWAP and some of the EMAs that I very much like for scalping. And really, this just gives me a visual cue on what's being respected, throughout the trading day. So it's like you can see that we're kind of holding VWAP, right? And then when we come back down, right, this ad over here lines up with the 21 moving average. This ad down here is going to line up with a bounce off the 50 moving average. Over here, this ad here lines up with the bounce off the 50 moving average here again, right? And so it's just an extra kind of visualization. Like these EMAs aren't always respected. I mean, we can see, before the news this morning, you can see how choppy it was, right? EMAs are not always being respected. But I think this gives you like a good idea of like, hey, like this is not just a QGrid bounce, right? That this is actually bouncing, respecting an EMA and continuing. The other thing that I have is the 5-minute smart money concepts order blocks, smart money concepts with order blocks over here, right? And this just gives me a good idea of, like, are we in a range? Like, this is the overnight high, right? Are we ranging, kind of like, what did we have this? It gives you like a good representation of, like, okay, we bounced here, we formed a support level here before pre-market, and we came up off of it, right? And then we're coming back down, and now we're holding pretty much the same support level that we've held all night. So it's like, just like, really good to get kind of like a bigger picture. But again, how you avoid chop is my forex, not my what is it called? Here, let me open up this so we can see this. For Forex Factory, right? And making sure that you know the news. Like, that's a big part of it, right? Knowing that PMI was today at 10, right? We're probably going to have a lot of chop leading up to that. And so those are things that you have to know. The other thing is, like, just the 15-minute chart and knowing where the pivot levels are. Pivot levels today's also just like it's a crappy day because it's going to be a half day, right? And we're coming into a holiday. It's going to trade probably not great. But if we go into like a day like yesterday, right, where you can see when we came up on the QGrid here, right? If I go back to the QGrid to see yesterday, QGrid was super choppy, right? But if you look at the 15-minute here, right, you can see that we came up, right? And the only thing I have turned on is fair value gaps with smart money concepts, right, from QuantView, right, and pivot points, because pivot points are important. And so our fair value gaps on the 15-minute, I think, not super important, but definitely play out a lot. So you see this setup a lot of times. This right here will happen where we will have a big candle, right? And then when we pull back into the almost the 50% mark of the fair value gap before continuing higher, right? And so because I know that there's a good chance that we're going to probably have this pullback, right? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm waiting for that pullback to happen. Once we get that pullback, right? Then I'm looking for longs. And none of this area here am I ever really I'm not bearish, right? I mean, just looking at 15 minutes, it's like we come into a fair value gap, we're bouncing off the fair value gap, and we're probably going to test that pivot, right? This pivot right here, right? That's kind of at least what I'm thinking. So when I see a QGrid bear signal right here, right, coming off that pivot, this is a dangerous. This signal here is a dangerous signal, right? And this is just like, you have to know when to take these and when not to take these. And you can kind of also see um, how stacked these signals get really quickly in this section, like how close they are. So that's how I avoid chop. Is like, it's either that you're going to wait to see, kind of, are we going to break out of this range and then start taking the signals, right? Uh, or, are we going to respect the slow range? Um, Again, it just comes down to you looking at the higher time frames. I think looking at the higher time frames and knowing that this could be a very high level of support here, right? It's like, it doesn't, uh, just would mean that you don't want to be taking the QGrid bear signals all the time, or the QGrid bull signals. They're great and they're fantastic, but you still have to know where we are in the overall market. If we're coming up to a pivot point, it's the same thing, right? We come up to this pivot point. This is a high probability of, say, rejection, right? And so if we are coming to a pivot point, let's see, when do we come to that pivot point? We come to the pivot point here, right? And we get a little bit of a pullback. Let's just say it printed another, I mean, this dot right here right? You're probably not going to add to this dot. The risk to reward is not in your favor, right? Because if we come up to that pivot point and we come back down, right? There's a good chance that we're going to pull back to, like, say, the 50 moving average or VWAP, right? And so you got to be, that's right. Oh, I went back too far. Is right here, right? So yeah, so you can see, like, once we touched that pivot point, we pulled all the way back to the VWAP, right? So again, risk to reward is not in your favor. You're trying to take a trade. If you're taking that last signal, right, you're trying to take a trade like that, right, where your potential profit, if it goes against you, is like only 20 points, but your risk is like 50. So these are just things that you kind of have to be aware of, right? Second time we come up to touch the pivot, though, I mean, I even said it in the Discord, it was like, I thought that we were going to take, but I also said that if we hold that level, if we hold VWAP and we come back up and we retest the pivot, we're going to probably go through it because, these orders are already absorbed and stuff. So these are things that you kind of just know when you spend a lot of time on the charts and stuff. But this is why I suggest this layout, will help you maybe filter out some of the bad signals from QGrid. But yeah, that's kind of the idea there. Anthony, you have anything to add to that? I feel like I'm rambling now.
No, man. You're going on just fine. I really don't have a lot to add to that. It sounded great.
Okay.
One more thing that, just to reiterate, when you briefly touched on, just like the 15-minute, is plot like a simple, I know the main layout, it's like my 5-minute chart layout in there, where I've just got like either a 3-minute chart with the opening range breakout, or a 5-minute, or a 15-minute, and just like Travis was doing, just stack it on top of, like, break up your trading view like he has into a couple panes, and have, one pane be a 3-minute or a 5-minute or a 15-minute, and tell yourself, depending on what style or strategy you end up going with, I'm not going to take any alerts unless we break outside of this range, or, as soon as we go below the 3-minute or above, I'll start taking, QGrid alerts. So that's just another thing you could stack on top
Yeah.
to give you some more confluence to hopefully not get it, chopped out.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, um when you're taking the Q grid, like, this is why I love the 1 minute. A lot of times, this isn't all the time, but there's a good chance that if the 9 is under the 21, right, and the candle closes below the 50, right, there's a good chance that we're pulling back to somewhere below the 50, right? I mean, usually it's to a pivot point, to an order. You're going to be looking, is there an order block down there? Is there VWAP, right? You can see that kind of happened here. We closed, but we kind of held it here. But the second time that it happened, you can see that we just tank. As a lot of times when we close under the 50 moving average, that is a sign that we are, I go back to, like, any day here, right? You can see, like, here, right? It's like we come down, we came down through, we close under, right, the 50 moving average. We push all day, we close under the 50 moving average, then we never go back above it, and we just continue taking. And you can see how it's just staying under that 50 moving average almost for the rest of the day. This isn't 100%, right? But this is something that you'll see, happen a lot. And so it's just like one of those extra confirmations that you can have. Everything with trading is about confluences, right? I mean, QGrid is fantastic by itself, right? Especially on a day like today. Like, if you just took all these signals, like, you'd be up 10 20 grand, what I mean? Like, you'd be up so much money today. But on days where it's chopping sideways, like, you might lose money, right? I mean, not every indicator is perfect, right? Every indicator has its own flaws and stuff. So it's like, if you can use confluences alongside with, even one indicator, it's extremely helpful. And yeah, 15-minute opening range is fantastic. That's where a lot of times I do mark the 15-minute opening range on the 15-minute chart, just by putting two lines really quick. I don't do it every single day. And sometimes it's like I just look at it, right? It's like, okay, it's like I know this is the 15-minute opening range, right? If we continue closing above it, right, then potentially we're going to, be bullish for the rest of the day. If we come back into it and we close under it, then I might be a little bit bearish, right? And it's like I don't need to mark it out on a 15-minute to know that this is the 15-minute opening range. I can look at it and just tell, right? Um, so yeah, stuff like that. I mean, I the other tip that I'll give people too is like on the 5-minute, one of the other moving averages that I like a lot is the 8 moving average on the 5-minute chart. So if I just plotted the 9 moving average and I change this to 8, how that's for I'm not going to count that, but look at like these 5-minute pullbacks to it and these wicks off of it continuously, right? And again, it's kind of like that 50 moving average where it's like once we go below it, right, you can see that's when we get that big tank candle, right? Again, just another thing that you can add as a confluence, to your trading. So the nice little one. I'm going to go ahead and let Anthony talk for a little bit. Or do we have any more questions? I should that you see too. See.
No, just
11.
one in the chat that I quickly answered, but
Okay. I'm going to let Anthony talk because Anthony's been cooking up a ton of stuff recently. And so I'm going to go let him take the floor for a little bit.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk about some of the newest things that we've come out with for the automated trading. Of course, the biggest one is going to be the automated trading suite version 1.4. And the automated trading suite is just the new name for the prop trader. That's because it's not specifically designed just for prop trading anymore. This is going to be for all sorts of stuff. Coming in the next version, you'll actually have API access in it, so customers that have the ATS won't need auto view, you won't need traders post, you won't need any of that, because you'll be able to use this to connect straight into API. So all that's gone, and you will have the much faster response rate that that software has as compared to auto view or traders post. Both of those I've experienced some pretty significant lag with, up to a couple of seconds, whereas our ATS, we're usually seeing it's like 200 to 300 milliseconds. Usually it's pretty dang fast. It's really just kind of the ping time. It's fast. So that will be nice for everyone who wants to run API. Now, version 1.4 also had the unlimited forward testing deployed with it. So when you're running your strategies, if you want to know what your strategy is doing, you can go and set up one of these forward testing routes. And I have instructions for that in the new playlist. And what that will do is print into an Excel sheet exactly what it's doing. Now you can get the data from two places. You can get it either from TradingView, which is sometimes problematic, right? Because it's not the exact print that happens in the markets when you trade it, right? Or if you want, you can buy a SpiderRock subscription. It's about $250 a month for the data feed, and then you can pull live prints from the exchange. That's what I do personally. To forward test is all of my stuff is done with live prints, and that's more accurate. But nonetheless, this does allow you the ability to have unlimited forward testing so that you can see what's going on. This is a big thing with TradingView because TradingView, especially Renko charts, do not display historical data properly. So if you really want to know what's happening, the forward testing using just TradingView pricing is still much better than the TradingView back testing, which is incredibly problematic. So this is still a much better choice than that back testing, even if you're using the TradingView price source. So that's really kind of the big difference in this. We do also have a couple internal changes. It handles reversals much better with multiple quantities, so that works really well now. It is compatible with QSumo now, and I just released yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the QSumo updates version 1.35, and that has compatibility with the ATS and it also has the profit and loss limits built into it. Now, keep in mind, if you're one of the ones running it on the 30-second chart, you are still limited by trading views. It's going to take 30 seconds to refresh and see what's going on. So the profit and loss limits may not be exact. And that's because we're relying on trading view data to do that. So, in the future, if you have the API access, we're going to be able to monitor that much more closely. Now, here's the thing too. I know a lot of you trade with the prop firms. The prop firms, we're kind of limited in what we do. I'm looking at a different way to access the prop firms. The issue is in making sure that everything we do follows people's terms of service, right? Because we don't want anybody to get in trouble for it. So that's one of the things that I'm doing right now, is finding different ways to access the prop firm accounts that follows everybody's TOS and makes it and still gives us a little bit more information. So we are working on that behind the scenes. I've actually got my coder working on that. I've got another coder in the team. So those are just a few of the things that we're doing with the ATS, and we're trying to evolve it. Now, like I say, in the next version, we'll have the API capability, and then we'll also have, and this is really cool. Now, we deployed this, well, it will be next week, but I put a test post earlier. We've got the news bot. It's going to be for elite members, and it's going to integrate into the automated trading suite. And what it does is it's going to print out, every day it'll say, hey, here's the news that's coming. So at the very least, if you're a manual trader, you can go in there and look at it if you don't already look at it on the internet. But what this is going to do, the real importance that this is going to have, is that it will integrate with the ATS so that you can go in there dynamically and say, okay, for this news event, right, you can type in or copy and paste, or however we end up doing it. Like you can put in, CPI and core CPI. And when it finds them in that week, it will disable the trader during that time, right? So we can have it stay out of the market until CPI drops, or, you could do the same thing with FOMC or whatever you want to do. So that scheduling around news events is going to become much more dynamic in the next versions. And that's why I say this is morphing into the automated trading suite, and not so much just prop firm, because this is going to be designed for everybody who wants to do automated trading.
That feature alone is sweet.
Yeah, no, I mean that feature alone, nobody else has that. That doesn't exist unless you code it yourself. So that's going to be a QuantView exclusive on this next one. The unlimited forward testing already is exclusive. I don't know anybody else that does it. So we've got that going on. Like I say, the API access, and those are going to be the two big updates in version 1.5. And then after that, we're looking at moving more towards a system that doesn't rely on TradingView so much. TradingView has a lot of inherent problems that simply aren't solvable as a coder, and that's because of the way that TradingView runs, the way that it works. Is simply, like I say, as a coder, the problems aren't solvable. So the way to get around that is to move to a dedicated system. So eventually, those of you that are using the ATS, you're making money, you really want to get into this. You're going to be able to buy a data subscription. Like I just said, you can get it through SpiderRock. It's like, it's like $250 to $300 a month, depending on how much you're running it. It's really not that expensive. And you'll be able to run our algorithms directly off of a dedicated server that you provision through Chart VPS. And then you're not worried about TradingView. You're not worried about TradingView randomly stopping your alerts, or having the alerts fire late, or getting some sort of weird calculation error, which they never give debug info for, which is great because I can't figure out what's causing the problem. And all of these issues, like I say, the TradingView issues, are going to go away. And at that point, that becomes much more like pure trading, right? So those of you that are interested in that, like I say, you're making money, that's coming. And that is going to be compatible both with prop firms and with API as well. And that's time frame on that. I was originally hoping to have that done fairly soon, but everything's kind of getting pushed back. And don't even know why I make timelines. So we're kind of looking more towards the end of the year on that. I do have some of it done though. So I have the server instantiated to bring all the data in, and now I'm writing the software that's going to parse through it and run it into databases so that then we can run the algos against it. So if you're a coder, you'll understand what that means. If you're not, don't worry about it. I'm working on it. So that's where we are with the ATS development. As far as the algorithms go, the current algorithms that are out, QChronos will be looking for an update soon-ish. I've got a couple things coming for that, which are going to be like a new scalper mode. There's like a simplified mode. Some people have been using it. I've been forward testing it a lot. We have something coming out that's very similar to. So I don't really like these things, but you can set it up this way, right? So this is part of the next companies that sell stuff on the internet that are very successful, and they do have and they do make money over time. But the kind of some of the issues are that these bots will have huge drawdowns. These things have 20%, 30%, 50% drawdowns. Now they have high win rates, and you can make that money over time, but all you need is 2 bad drawdowns and you wipe an account. So I've got something kind of similar to that, but we're controlling the drawdowns much better coming out, and that's going to be the QChronos 2. It's going to take a lot of forward testing to get into those situations where you're seeing huge drawdowns, and it's like, okay, what can we do to mitigate this? That's going to be something that I think more people with more risk appetite are going to like. If you got some accounts that you're good with throwing 10,000 in there, putting a couple micros on it, and ignoring it, that might be for you. So I do have that in the background. I am working on that. And we've got I showed you guys earlier. We've got the QGrid coming. We'll have the scalper version of that. Like I might not send the scalper version off right away. I'm going to do the always in and the ads version first. So like Travis was showing a really cool thing that he was doing with the ads. Like he was looking at the first ad that comes in, and that's where you get into the trade. That is really cool. I had not thought of that, Travis. I'm going to add a mode for that. That is cool. That is a great idea. So we can do something like that. Yeah. So we can do something like that, and we'll get that out to you guys so you can start automating the QGrid. And I'm going to do a couple other things that Travis was talking about with it so that you guys can automate that, start making some money with that thing. And then we have, like I say, oh no, I already went over QSumo. So yeah, that's everything we've got on the automation front. I am working hard in the background for you guys. If you have suggestions on how to make the software better, if you find a bug or whatever, please post it so that I can work on it. I've taken numerous user suggestions on this stuff, so I am happy to listen to what you guys got and get out a better product for you. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. Looks like Paul asked a question. Well, we need to use the AWS route, or that will replace it. So yeah. Oh, that's another thing I do want to talk about. The AWS route, your webhook, that is going to be changed. So it's always going to be the same webhook no matter what you're doing, because it goes to my AWS account, and from there it gets parsed out to wherever it needs to go, whatever routes it needs to go. It knows what to do from there. So it's always going to be the same webhooks, but we do need to change the main one. Don't worry. You'll have months to change this over before the old one is dead. I will announce more info on this. You'll be completely fine. But due to the acquisition of Trade Connect from QuantView's acquisition of Trade Connect, we have to separate a few things out. So that is coming, just FYI for all the ATS clients. But yeah, it is always going to be the same one. And once we move this, it will never change again. So that's where we're at.
One question that I've got at least 2 DMs probably in the past 2 weeks about this is it possible to do the prop trader on somebody's own, if they have a dedicated computer at their house? Is it possible to set that up? And the reason why people are asking now is because for example, TopStep does, in their terms of service, they don't allow VPS servers or VPN servers. But to my knowledge, they've never enforced it. But with the recent, all of a sudden Apex is enforcing this rule. One day, maybe they can and will enforce that. And so that's a question for you.
Yeah. So I can go into that. There's a technical reason why not. And first of all, and I'll give you several reasons why not. First of all, you need a static IP that never changes. And generally, you cannot get that at a residential address. If you happen to have business service, if you happen to have an SLA available at your address, sometimes you can get a static IP, but 99.9% of the time you cannot. So because of that, in general, no, you cannot.
Yeah.
The other issue is going to be things like performance. I have to be able to access the server to troubleshoot it with you, to install it, to debug it. When we build the server, it's built with a QuantView image. So it has to be imaged from the company that's provisioning it. And the other one is going to be uptime. So here's the big thing. And this is the way that I design my tools. And this is the way that I know Mike is as well. We want our stuff to be the very best possible available. So I don't make sacrifices with the performance that I do. This is why I tell you, no, you need to buy a VPS that costs you $110 a month. Like, there are cheaper ones available, but I'm not going to build on them. There are cheaper services available, but I'm not going to build on them for you. So you need to buy good stuff, because we want quality. We want uptime. We want performance. Like, this is just how we do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So that's another reason why. So yeah, there's all your reasons why not. Short answer, no.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to pay you $1,000 and they had the business line, maybe. That's about probably the only exception.
No, $1,000's not worth it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Anything else, Tusi, that you want to touch on? Upcoming?
No, nothing that. Let me scroll the announcements channel to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Can you automate QuantView indicators on NinjaTrader with Trade Connect? Question in the chat for you, Anthony.
On NinjaTrader, no. So Trade Connect, which and I'll let Mike talk about it, is actually going to be rebranded. But Trade Connect can only go through Trade-of-8. And Mike, you can talk a little bit more on that since it's your company now. But we had focused on Trade-of-8. We have some. We're going to be doing some enhancements too. And this is the big reason why we wanted to focus just on Trade-of-8. And I'll talk about this from the coding angle. Is if you look at the other providers in the space, so you've got AutoView, Traders Post, so I think there's a couple others. They suffer from the same problem, and that is that it's multi-user commercial software. So when you have multi-user commercial software, you have to do a whole bunch of checks and balances in the background to make sure that you are able to that you are providing the proper service to the proper customer. You have to make sure, does this person have an active subscription? Does this person have, is their identity token ready to go? There's all sorts of stuff in the background that you need to check on. And that's why the lag time is so long. So if you look at AutoView, Traders Post, it's like, okay, a 2-second lag time. That's terrible. Like, especially if you're trying to scalp, that is terrible. We want to get that down to a few hundred milliseconds. And that's the enhancement that we're going to bring over to Trade Connect, is that it's going to be focused on Trade-of-8, and we can bring those enhancements and get it really, really fast. Now, my personal API for Trade-of-8 runs about 35 milliseconds for a fill. It's very, very quick. We're not going to be that fast with Trade Connect because it is still multi-user commercial software, but we can get it much faster than the competitors, and that's why it's focused. So, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, just to briefly touch on the Trade Connect. If you missed it, we recently acquired maybe 2-3 weeks ago now. We'll be doing some rebranding on that. It's going to be as Anthony pointed out, we're really going to focus on Trade-Evate and futures. It's no different than what we, focused on here at QuantView, prop traders, experienced traders, to really laser in and bring you the best possible product and service for that particular niche, which is futures trading. So stay tuned for some rebranding updates. And other than the rebrand, it's going to be the same, with those enhancements, but there's not going to be like some drastic, oh, we're dropping Trade-Evate and only focusing on crypto or this or that. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
We've got some cool stuff baked, ready to go for you guys on that front.
Yeah. And as somebody like somebody that I've messed a lot with different trading automation softwares in the past, right? And I can tell you that like lag time is definitely a thing. Also reliability and just like the teams being built out. The team being built out behind everything that we're doing over here at QuantView is fantastic in comparison. And I've worked with other, automation stuff before in the past. And I can tell you that whenever there's a problem with it, anything with automation or QuantView, we we take care of it so quickly in comparison to some of these other companies. And a lot of y'all experience issues with AutoView that lasted, a month or two. And it was weird issues too. It wasn't just, orders being delayed. There was a little glitch in their system where they had orders that were copying to, like your orders were being taken on somebody else's account, which was like a whole, that should never ever happen. So, yeah, Anthony probably didn't know about that. I see your face.
No, I did not. I'll bet what it was is they were like asynchronously kicking on like different threads to process everything at the same time, and they probably didn't have each thread like contained, and they were like overlapping into the program. Dude, that is something else. Wow.
Yeah. Gratefully, it was quite quick enough where I don't think it messed anybody up too bad, but it could have been bad.
We got a couple questions in here on the automation stuff. So with Rhythmic, it does not work with Rhythmic. There's some issues with the Rhythmic software. We did recently find out, though, it does work with NinjaTrader, which is cool. But generally, we're going to be using Trade-Evate. Everybody, or the Apex has Trade-Evate, TopStep. They all have Trade-Evate. It's just really kind of our standardized way to go at this point. So yeah, there's the answer to that. Karan said, after purchasing the ATS, what sort of regular expenses should we expect to incur? So if all you're doing is trading, it's just going to be the cost of the VPS, which after our discount, I think is like $104.90, something like that. It's really close to that. And that's per month. And then it's whatever you're paying for your prop accounts, whatever you pay on top of that. But there's no other like per trade expense. There's nothing like that. You don't have to buy tokens or anything. Once you pay it, you buy it, it's yours. You got it for life. You've got lifetime all of the strategies. You got lifetime access to the ATS. Even as we upgrade it, that's another thing too. I'll talk about, because the way that this is going, the capabilities that this is going to have, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to be charging 5 figures for this thing. Like, it's going to be expensive when this is done. But everybody that's currently a member or currently has ATS, like, you're just going to get all these updates. So that's coming as well when you're talking about the expense portion of this. Now, if you want to run forward testing with the Spider Rock data, then you're paying for that data as well. Like I said, it's around $250 a month, something like that. So I mean, that's something that you're only going to want to use if you're a power user, right? Like, you're making money, you really want to get into this. So that's your answers as far as the monthly expenses go. Let's see if there was anything else on automation in here. Karan, yeah, I'll talk to the other automation one, then you guys can handle the others. Recommended to use Trade Connect. Yeah, at the moment, that one will work perfectly with our strategies. Yes.
Nice. I'm just reading the questions really quick.
And I think Mike was Yeah, Mike, you were doing some changes with the pricing, I think. Yeah.
For the ATS or for Trade Connect.
For Trade Connect.
Yeah, so Trade Connect, it's, if you're unaware of what it is, it's for API. So if you're looking to automate your prop accounts, then that's what the ATS is for. It's going to include API access, like Anthony said. But for Trade Connect, if you do sign up for Trade Connect, and in the next few weeks it'll be rebranded, but go with the gold plan for $55 a month, because moving forward we're going to remove all other plans and give that $55 a month. That'll be unlimited everything. So there's not going to be any, and that's how we plan to take down the competition, not only with the performance of our product, but also the pricing and positioning. So to really give you guys the most amount of value there. So if you do sign up for Trade Connect, go with the 55 a month gold plan. It's going to get you unlimited everything. So don't bother with any other plans.
Unlimited everything's wild too, because if for people that don't know, it's like some of these other automation services will charge for even each trade that you do. There's one that I don't know if they're still around, but it would just like, like maybe like 10 cents for every action that's sent, right? But it's like that adds up to hundreds of dollars a month, if not thousands, depending on what you're doing. And then there's other ones that will charge you like, 100, for 100 trades, like $50 a month, right? So, to have unlimited forward testing, basically outside of Tradeovate's limitations is huge, because right now, if you want to forward test a strategy in Tradeovate, you only can get like 5 demo accounts. Some of us were able to get more. We're like grandfathered in. So it's like, I think I had like 10, but with Anthony's new system, like you can forward test 30 strategies at the same time and collect all that data. And that is, I don't think people understand how big of a deal that is, because there's no one else doing that. Nothing else allows you to accomplish that. So, and that's huge for people that are in automation. Forward testing is key. And so it's like most manual traders can forward test, say, one strategy or maybe 2 strategies at a time if they're manually doing it. So by being able to test 40, right, you're expediting your ability to learn how, different strategies work yourself. 40 times faster than like a manual trader if you're consuming that data after the fact.
Yeah, the forward testing is the biggest part, I think, of automation. And so here's the thing too, a lot of people are going to ask right off the bat, well, what's the best strategy and what's the best settings? I get that asked all the time. And I'll cover the settings one right now. So chart settings can vary a little bit. Settings inside of all the strategies, I choose the default settings for a reason, guys. Start with the default settings. Don't mess around with things. Okay, you can change the quantity, like that's fine, but don't mess around with things. I'll talk a little bit about automation theory and why that's a thing. Because in automation, when you're back testing, there's something that's called overfitting. And well, it'll show up then in forward testing. So what happens is you select all these perfect settings. You dial in every little number to where your back test curve looks perfect, right? Straight angle, lower left to upper right. You made $1 billion. But then in forward testing, it just crashes and burns, right? So that's called overfitting. You fit it so well to the past, it doesn't do good in the future. And the way to avoid that is to use much more generic and regularly accepted numbers in the stock market. So when I trade, people ask me, what hours do you trade? I trade the first 2.5 hours of the market. Like that's all I trade. I go from 9:30 at open. Sometimes I'll set it to 9:35. That one's a little bit of personal preference. And I'll go to noon and that's it. I turn it off. Those are the only hours I trade. Those hours are generally accepted in the stock market. Now, if you are setting up your back testing trading from like 10 a.m. to 11:32 because that's what looked the best, you are overfitting. So you always want to use kind of very generic, generally accepted stuff. So that's my spiel on the settings. Just use the default settings. But like I say, the chart settings can vary a little. We're testing out some different stuff with QSumo on like the 30-second chart. I don't know why, but it works. As well as the 2-box, which is working great. We're looking at some differences between the 4 and the 2 for some volatility, which was posted earlier in the automation chat, which is very fascinating to me. And in the future, also, we'll be able to, this is another one I didn't test on or didn't touch on with the ATS. Not just being able to schedule for news events, but being able to schedule for volatility. So if we're detecting high volatility, you can tell it which set of alerts you want to take. So you can send the ATS more than one set of alerts at a time. You can have a QSumo set up for high volatility and one set up for low volatility, whatever you want to do. And you'll tell the ATS, okay, when these conditions are detected, accept only this alert. And it'll just trade the alert that you have set up for those market conditions. That's coming as well. That probably won't be in version 1.5. That's probably version 1.6, but that's going to be based off a lot of our Gamma bot and our Elite bot, which you see running in the Discord. So that's coming as well. TCS, is there directional preference? Most of them you can set for long or short. But for time of day, not yet. What you need to do is set up 2 alerts. So you would have to set up, and I really wouldn't recommend doing this, but if you want to do this, you would have to set up 2 alerts, and you can use the time restrictions. So you would set up one for the morning and you just like put long, and then set one for the evening and just put short. I wouldn't really recommend it, but give it a shot. In general, and here's another tidbit for you guys. In general, statistically speaking, longs are more successful than shorts. And the reason for that is that over time, the stock market moves upward, not downward. So statistically speaking, your longs will be more successful than shorts. That's why when I create strategies, I'm creating the long side first, and I'm getting that to profitability. So that's an interesting statistical tidbit for you guys. But let me just look in here, make sure there's no more automation questions. Quant Ninja. So with Trade of 8, the automation just helps with entries with no bracket orders. With no bracket orders, you actually can run it with brackets. All you have to do is just send just the entry signals, and then the brackets that are in Trade of 8 will work. There's an issue though with Trade of 8 and the trade copier, where it will not copy the brackets to other accounts. That's a Trade of 8 thing. I don't know what the deal is. So what we do generally is we'll just use like the market orders, the signals sent from TradingView. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully that answered your question.
And I think the last thing that I kind of want to ask you is, what strategy has been the most profitable for you this year so far?
So this year so far. So here's the thing. I developed QSumo. It was originally called Desumo back in September of last year. That one has been the most forward profitable strategy I've ever written. And I always thought it was the best one. Before somebody figured out it ran on the 2-box and the 30-second, it was a lot more selective for me. I had to like kind of select when I was using it. I had to make sure that I felt big moves were coming that day. But with this is getting to the point. It's just stupid. You just turn it on, wait for it to hit a profit goal, turn it off. So yeah, by far the QSumo is turning out to be the most profitable one. And that the way QSumo works is it will follow the markets up and down as they move. It will try to keep you from reversing like crazy in consolidation. And it does a pretty good job. It's got some really unique math behind it. If you go and look at, you can see the purple line that's in there, and you can see as it reverses on the chart. It's not a line that you can generate any other way except for the unique math that I put into it. It does its best to keep you moving in the right direction. And that one has just, it has over time turned out to be the most profitable. Now that it's prop automation compatible, ATS compatible, that's huge. Because now we can run it with the prop firms. It hasn't been prop firm compatible. It's only been API. And what I did was I went into the code for QSumo, And because the way that we do multiple quantities going into the ATS can have a tiny bit of lag time in it, there's now a setting where you can adjust that lag time, can have a tiny bit of lag time. I had to go through the code very, very carefully. And in every situation that I could eliminate that lag time for multiple quantities, I did. So we have really just the best performance that I can currently get into a prop firm with that thing.
Yeah, I love QSumo. I almost don't even want to say my settings, but yeah, I've been very powerful with QSumo. This the week so far, one of the accounts I trade QSumo with, I'm up like $1,000 so far on that account. So $770 today, and then it's like $300 in profit, and I only trade it for about two hours a day. So
yeah, dude, the thing is just killer, man.
yeah.
That I want to give a huge shout out to Marcus. He's not in here. He's been with me for almost a year now, and we've worked really closely together. He's helped me test so much crap. The dude is amazing. He posts constantly in the chats. He's the one that found that like 2-box 30-second and started messing around with that kind of stuff. The guy's amazing. So when he talks, listen to what he has to say. He's a smart dude. So that's the shout out on that one.
Nice.
Just a
Nice.
general tip if you're new to the Discord, or you may have just joined. The light blue role in Discord is for we call head traders, and it's just members that have been here for a while, are seeing some great success and are very helpful with other community members. And so when you see those people, as Anthony said, messaging and chatting it up in the community, be sure to listen and chime in. So just something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, especially people like Ice, like I know PKI, dude. PKI has a lot of very crazy withdrawals that I've seen publicly. I think some of them are public, but yeah, I mean he's withdrawn, probably over $100,000 at this point, probably in the past year from Apex, and then Ice, had a $20,000 payout at the beginning of this year, and his strategy is pretty sound, and he's constantly posting the profits and wins and showing how he's taken those trades. And so yeah, definitely two of those guys. Jay's always answering questions. He's also crushing it.
We might have to take Ice's
That's
layout
just
and
some of them.
turn it into an automated strategy.
Yeah, something. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I've tried to take his strategy and actually like do a little bit of automation with it, but my automation compared to what Anthony can do is like I can Frankenstein it. Anthony can actually make it up polished and look really nice and have a paint job. My style of getting something automation is like really rough and ugly, but sometimes it works. So
Jay goes, call it the Q ice.
the Q ice.
I like it.
That's awesome.
Do we have any questions? I guess, do we have any questions in the on the YouTube channel? Because I wasn't actually looking at that. Right before we leave, I want to check that.
Are we streaming on YouTube too?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I saw somebody ask
nope.
earlier if it was recorded. There you go. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. It is recorded. It is not currently. Hold on a second. Let me make sure. It is being recorded on YouTube. Just want to make sure. Thing. All right. So yeah, this whole recording will be up on the YouTube channel as well. I don't know why the video just went black though on the channel. Oh, everything went black. Hello. My internet go out?
Oh, I still hear you.
Huh. strange.
Well, if that's everything, should we should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we should just wrap it up.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's been a good week. Again, if you have any questions, just add us in the Discord channel. Make sure you guys if you guys haven't already, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe. It helps it helps the algorithms and helps other people see our content as well. So that would be a huge plus. If I will go ahead and just drop the link in the Discord channel. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe to that. And hopefully, I think we'll be doing another giveaway probably very soon. I've been talking to Blue Sky about doing another giveaway. And
Nice.
so keep an eye out for that. That's it for this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys, have a good 4th.